Hey everyone, and welcome back for another video. This time I'm going to start doing a shelf by shelf collection video. I was asked recently by a fellow YouTuber, he goes by the name of Bushman Blue. He comments on some of my videos, so thank you very much. Put forward the suggestion that he'd like to see a full collection. So I'm not going to do one full video with everything. So what I thought I'd do is split it up shelf by shelf at a time. I'm going to try and get these videos out fairly frequently. Can't guarantee it'll be on the frequency of like one a day, but I'd like to try and get this done quickly. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Going to start with this top shelf right up here on the left to begin with, next to the Game of Thrones box set. Right, let's get to it. Okay then, so on average, oh right, here's Luna the cat to say hello already. Excuse her. Come on. So yeah, as I was saying, on average, each shelf in my collection holds around 50 Blu-rays, if you look at them all being sort of single editions. So I do order it alphabetically, starting with the numbers. This is the 007 James Bond collection. So here's the contents of the James Bond collection. As you can see, they really went all out on the design. Anyway, this is the collection that came out a few years ago before Spectre was released. So it's got all the Bond films containing from like Doctor No all the way up to Skyfall. But this one did include space to put Spectre in. So basically what I did is just bought it separately and then put the disc in. So it's now a complete collection until, of course, the next Bond film comes out, which I believe is going back into production very shortly. Okay, next up we've got 3:10 to Yuma. This, of course, is the James Mangold directed remake with Christian Bale and Russell Crowe. Here we've got Makoto Shinkei's Japanese anime 5 centimeters per second. Next up we've got one of Indicator's first releases. This is 10 Rillington Place, starring Richard Attenborough in one of his probably most unrecognisable but finest roles. Here we've got the Criterion edition of 12 Angry Men, probably, in all fairness, one of the best films of all time. Next up we've got Arrow's fairly recent edition of Terry Gilliam's 12 Monkeys. Here we've got the Steelbook edition. Sorry about the glare. This is Takashi Miike's 13 Assassins. Here we've got the Chinese film 14 Blades, starring the one and only Donnie Yen and Sammo Hung. Next up we've got a fairly recognisable pair of films. So this set contains 21 and 22 Jump Street. Here we've got the horror film 28 Weeks Later. This, of course, is the sequel to 28 Days Later. I do have that one elsewhere in my collection, but it's in a Danny Boyle box set. Next up, we've got the couple of films 300, which, of course, is quite recognisable, a film that I enjoy, and its sequel, which is, in all fairness, much inferior, 300 Rise of an Empire. Here we've got Roland Emmerich's 2012, an absolutely daft film, but fun nonetheless. Here we've got a release from 88 Films from their Italian collection. This one's called 2019 After the Fall of New York. Shamelessly ripping off the classic Escape from New York, but then again, they don't call them Italian exploitation films for nothing. This next release leads us into the start of the A's. Excuse the banging in the background, that's just Luna jumping on the exercise bag. So here we've got Absurd, directed by Joe D'Amato. So yeah, this is basically just about a deranged killer running around. Yeah. Next up we've got Accident Man, starring Scott Adkins. This is a US import. It's to be fair, it's a weak film, but the action scenes are absolutely phenomenal. Next up, we've got the television animated series of The Adventures of Tintin. So this box set contains all 21 episodes of the classic animated show from the 90s. And following that, we've got the Steven Spielberg and Peter Jackson collaboration, which of course is also called The Adventures of Tintin. This is based on the Secret of the Unicorn storyline, which actually involves a couple of other stories as well. Next up, we've got a Chinese film called Aftershock. This one was an import from China as well. Unfortunately, this one is region A locked. Of course, it did come with English subtitles. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought it because I can't speak Cantonese or Mandarin. This is a phenomenally good film, and I implore anyone who's never heard of it or seen it to check it out and watch it. In theory, it is a big budget disaster film, but that occurs, obviously implied by the name, that the earthquake occurs at the start of the film, and it really does sort of try and address the human toll it takes basically on the survivors. I thought this was an amazing film. Next up, we've got the Korean film, The Age of Shadows. This is a great sort of conspiracy sort of undercover spy film. It's got quite a few action sequences in. It's really good stuff. Next up is Akira, directed by Katsuhiro Otomo. This is renowned for being one of the most amazing anime films of all time, which in fairness it lives up to as well. If you've never seen Akira, you should watch it, even if you don't think you're into Japanese animation, because it's such a great film. Moving on to another classic animated film. This is Disney's Aladdin. This is one of my personal favourites. Here we've got the BFI release of Alice, which was made in then Czechoslovakia. This is an interesting tale on Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. Certainly what I would describe as unique, but then again, any film directed by Jan Svankmajer is definitely unique. It's an experience worth seeking out. It's quite phenomenal. Here we've got my Alien film collection. So as you can see, the box set on the left has Prometheus, and then Aliens, Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection. And then of course I bought Alien Covenant separately because I bought the box set on the left before Covenant had been released. Absolutely adore these films. I do like all of them. Some are definitely better than others. Alien and Aliens, of course, I think sort of outshine the rest of them. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that Aliens is up there in my sort of top 20 films of all time. Here we've got the two movie pack with the Alien versus Predator films, parts 1 and 2. Overall, they just don't live up to the hype, unfortunately. I have to describe them as slightly disappointing, but they are still kind of fun. So, they're worth a watch. Next up, we've got All About Lily Chow Chow. This is quite a recent pickup for me. This is an American release of a Japanese film from the early 2000s. At its heart, a coming-of-age drama addressing the sort of the woes of teen life and the internet. Certainly in its early days, anyway. I've got to be honest though, it's a bloody fantastic film. Here we've got the Steelbook edition of Jean-Pierre Jugnet's Amelie. A lot of people have seen this. It got a lot of promotion at the time it came out, so it's fairly well known. For good reason, though. It's because it's a great film. Next up, we've got American Assassin. What can I say? It's just, sort of mindless Hollywood action film, but it wasn't too bad. It's just that Scott Adkins was unfortunately underused as he in most Hollywood films. Next up, we've got American Beauty. Even considering what's happened, involving Kevin Spacey, it can't detract from this film being pretty much a masterpiece. If you've never watched it, it's definitely worth seeking out. Another sort of gut-punching hard hitter here. We've got American History X. This one is another difficult watch, but it's a profoundly well-made film addressing the incredibly difficult subject of racism. Here we've got American Hustle. This one, I believe, was a Poundland pickup when they were still selling them for £1 each. Look at that cast list, though. Christian Bale, Bradley Cooper, Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and Jennifer Lawrence. What an absolutely fantastic lineup. Here we've got American Made, starring the one and only Tom Cruise, where he plays slightly out of character for him, but I think this was a well-made film. Obviously, he plays a drug-running pilot. Here we've got the American Pie box set. So this box set contains, in all fairness, probably the only American Pie films that are worth owning, unless you really like the rest of the films. So yeah, you got the first, the second, the third, which is The Wedding, and then Reunion. And then last but not least, for the first shelf, this is one of Clint Eastwood's more contemporary greats. This is American Sniper. Okay, so that's it for part one, shelf one done. Join me again where we will look at shelf number two, surprisingly enough. Thank you very much for watching.